what you're about to see has been hidden from you. A war was waged inside the United States government, not by foreign enemies, but by the men and women sworn to serve this nation. This is the story they didn't want you to know, and it changes everything. On November 5th, 2024, something historic happened. 77 million Americans walked into voting booths across this country and cast their ballots for a simple idea: that the American people, not the bureaucrats, not the Washington insiders, not the globalist elites, should run their own country. Donald Trump won not just the Electoral College, but the popular vote. For the first time in 20 years, a Republican won more votes than any Democrat. But here's what the media won't tell you. The vote wasn't just for something, it was against something. Against 4 years of open borders, inflation, weaponized justice, and cultural warfare on everyday Americans. Against an establishment that had spent decades building a government that served itself and forgotten who it was supposed to serve. When Donald Trump walked into the White House on January 20th, 2025, he carried with him the biggest political mandate in a generation. The question was, would Washington let him use it? The answer came fast, and it wasn't pretty. Before the ink was dry on the inauguration address, the machinery of the administrative state swung into action. Federal judges in San Francisco, New York, and Washington issued emergency injunctions, not based on the Constitution, based on their political preferences. Orders to block deportations, orders to reinstate fired federal employees, orders to stop the audit of government spending. And who was filing these cases? The same network of leftist NGOs, political operatives, and dark money organizations that had spent $1 billion trying to stop Trump in the election and failed. Now they were trying the courts. Again. Inside the agencies, it was even uglier. Career bureaucrats, people who had never been elected to anything, began slow-walking orders. Documents went missing. Classified briefings were leaked to the press. Entire departments began coordinating to undermine their own executive leadership. This isn't speculation. This is what happens when you build a permanent political class. A class that believes it has the right to govern, regardless of what the American people decide. They call it the civil service. They call it expertise. We call it what it is, a shadow government, accountable to no one, loyal to an agenda, not a republic. But Donald Trump had seen this movie before. This time, he came prepared. In the first 30 days of the second term, the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, began what historians will remember as the most sweeping audit of the American federal bureaucracy since the New Deal. Elon Musk and his team of engineers, accountants, and analysts didn't just find waste. They found fraud, dead people collecting benefits, contracts paid to companies with no employees. Federal agencies running programs Congress had never authorized and never funded, paid for through accounting tricks buried so deep no single person could have found them alone. DOGE found them in weeks. The number that stopped the country, $1.5 trillion in identified waste, fraud, and unauthorized spending. Not over a decade, in the first fiscal year of the audit alone, but the money was only part of the story. What DOGE also found, and what very few people are talking about, was the infrastructure of the resistance itself. The internal communications, the coordination networks, The outside organizations that were funneled taxpayer dollars to fight the very policies those taxpayers had voted for. Federal employees were dismissed, contracts were canceled, and the legal battles began to fall apart as the cases worked their way up to the Supreme Court, which ruled 3 times that the executive branch's authority is exactly what the Constitution says it is. So let's talk about what America First has actually delivered. Because the media isn't going to tell you. They'll tell you about the chaos. They'll tell you about the drama. They won't tell you this. Border crossings at the southern border are at a 50-year low. The fentanyl pipeline that was killing 100,000 Americans every year has been disrupted. Energy production is at a record high. Gas prices are down. The inflation that destroyed household budgets for 3 straight years has broken. The Federal Reserve, which spent 2 years telling you inflation was transitory, is now dealing with an economy that's actually growing. Manufacturing is coming back, not because of subsidies, because of tariffs, because of trade deals that actually put American workers first. The factories that the globalist class told you were never coming back, they're coming back. And the federal payroll, the bloated, unaccountable, self-perpetuating bureaucracy, is smaller than at any point since the 1960s. More accountable, and for the first time in decades, genuinely afraid of the people it's supposed to serve. But make no mistake, this fight is not over. The people who built the administrative state didn't spend 50 years doing it to give it up in 2. They will come back, in the courts, in the press, in the next election cycle. They are already funding the legal challenges, building the narrative, and recruiting the next generation of bureaucrats and operatives. That is why what you do matters. Not just voting, not just watching, talking, sharing, refusing to let the story be buried. Because the single most powerful weapon the establishment has is information control. The ability to decide what you see, what you know, and what you think is possible. That power only exists as long as you let them have it. Every subscriber to channels like this one is a vote against their monopoly. Every share is a breach in their information wall. Every American who understands what actually happened is one more person they cannot control. If you want the truth that the mainstream media won't give you, if you want the deep dive, the full story, the names and the facts, you are in the right place. Subscribe to America First Daily. Ring the bell so you don't miss a single video. And share this with every American who deserves to know what's really happening in their country. America first, always.